Hello and welcome to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey, I'm Mark.
Joining us today are James.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
James.
you for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure. And also Rio.
Hey,
How you doing?
great. Thanks for having me back.
So soon too.
Less of a pleasure, but still enjoyable to have you on.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. Nobody has control over that. Today, it's just not a super pleasurable thing to see.
It's okay.
Work on it after.
I don't like any of that.
But today is episode 70 of our release, the Path of the Dead.
Oh, yeah. Eldar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have Peter this time. He's all afraid of the COVID, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already killed 4 of my family members. I can't risk it. It's just... He's being a coward.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I can make that joke because only 80 people have died in Alberta. So what are the chances that he actually has had 4? Maybe 1. Maybe 2 even, but 4, come on, that would be ridiculous.
How deep you want to dig this, Mark? You can
They
keep
could be
going.
even
I guess.
extended family
Don't
members.
worry, we'll cut it in post. It's
I
fine.
don't think we will. We might, but we might not. Who knows? Yeah, no Peter today, which is odd for an Eldar episode for us. But instead, we have 2 very capable guests.
Each one of them just given the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know all about Eldar.
Elves in the space.
Elves in space. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
I was under the impression this was a Tau episode.
Just crawl under the table and let yourself
That would make
out.
more sense for sure. Yeah. But with this episode, we are doing something different. We're not going through all our Patreon members at the beginning. Instead, we're trying to really shorten this and
Get to the content.
get to the
quicker.
content of the episode first. So,
But we read all your names in the end because we do appreciate it. If you want to go subscribe to our Patreon, go check it out. It does mean a lot, and it helps us out a lot.
yeah. And then just on that note, we also have a bunch of different ways to interact with our community, and that's through our Discord, our Instagram, our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Shoot us an email even if you are over the age of 60, and that's how you communicate. But then there's one other thing that's actually kind of important, and that's our community corner.
Yeah, we don't have any. So if you want to send us something to plug your own podcast or your gaming group or your YouTube channel, whatever, maybe you're into.
Yeah.
Whatever.
If it's 40K related,
That is the big thing.
we want to share it with everyone.
Yeah.
So
And since we're such sharing people, we also want your listener lore. So send us your homemade lore for your armies, and we'll also read those off in episodes. We have so many, but send them anyways, because one day we won't have so many, and then we'll need more.
yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll be out and
That's how it works. Yes.
just trying to why? But no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Or
like every one that we read, Eric, right?
is one less that we have.
Yes, exactly. We're all
Carry
on
the
the same.
2, divide by pi.
So yeah, get in touch with us, support us if you enjoy what we're doing, help us out, and we'll continue making. I don't want to use the word good content, but we'll be around.
Content.
Just content.
Yeah, we'll be doing what we're doing.
But
I think that was our quickest intro ever.
we're at 4 minutes of recording time.
That's perfect.
already,
Okay, let's jump in.
Let's go right into the Eldar Path of the Dead.
Yeah.
Very cool. So
Very cool.
if you don't know anything about Eldar, if this is like your first go-to, you might want to go back instead and listen to episode 35.
Episode 35, that was our official Path of the Eldar episode. We taught it's essential to know what paths are.
If you have some knowledge, you're going to be fine in this one.
Yeah.
But if you're fresh, maybe
If you
start
don't know
somewhere
what
else.
paths are, though,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the big.
you can go to Wikipedia and paths. I'll just give you a quick rundown because that's something I know a little bit about. Actually,
okay.
my house is near a path.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually just
Paved or
it's paved.
cobblestone?
It's paved. Yeah.
Nice, very
So
nice.
it's just like
What
a
are the
way
benefits?
people walk.
What are the benefits of a paved path versus a like gravel path? I'm curious. What's your take?
I actually
James?
prefer the gravel because when I run, it's less impact on my joints.
Is it
and
interesting? I didn't know that.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Now we
Anyway,
know.
so that was just
So
a
that
little
was
rundown
episode
on paths.
35. We talked about paths.
The path of the dead. Let's get into it. Let's just jump right into it.
So in case you don't want to listen to that, so a path is a way to focus yourself, for Eldar specifically, so to avoid falling to excess and giving your soul to Slaanesh. It allows the Eldar to focus on a specific portion of himself and explore the universe through that lens without giving in to their hedonistic desires.
Without the path, the Eldar could fall again into their patterns of overindulgence. And they have found a way to survive this biological life, but the Eldar life actually exists beyond the material realm.
Yeah.
And while they found a way to protect themselves in this instance of their being, life, whatever, they needed something beyond. They needed something for protection after life.
Yeah, because in 40K you actually have the word soul is a weird word because in 40K they use it so many different ways, but you do actually have a soul, a life force or something that when you die,
energy,
some type of energy that contains who you are, and when you die it goes into the warp, and when that happens it's not good for an Eldar person specifically.
So without any means of protection, no matter what path they followed in life, Slaanesh and its servants are constantly waiting to consume each and every Eldar soul that upon their death.
I feel like we're being way more handsy now that we're like, oh yeah, there's cameras in.
Well, I'm just picturing like those Slaanesh
The
demonettes, and they're just like
snip, snip on the souls.
grabbing the souls and eating them away.
Oh, it's so delicious.
That's what they sound like. Oh my God. That's exactly what I pictured.
That's what it looks like.
That's what I pictured.
If you want to look at the pictures we're pulling up for $2 on our Patreon, you can watch the video feed.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
very much, there's crab hands snipping at souls, so that's always delightful.
So that's why they have a way to protect themselves in life. And today we're talking about how they protect themselves in death.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about the Path of the Dead. Now, it's not a real thing.
No, I made this up.
Yeah.
This is some Mark canon.
But we have shared before, and it might even have been in episode 35, that there's potentially infinite number of paths that you can walk
trails along specific paths that then
sub-branches.
branch out into...
Who knows? Like, how deep and how specific you want to get is up to you, I think. But...
Wait, legit? This isn't a legit path?
It's not. No.
You guys brought me down here for this?
Sorry, let's put bonus episode in front of this, and then everything will be fine.
Well, we'll just to make James happy, you know? We have to keep him happy.
That's right.
One of the few people we have to keep happy. But yeah, it's not a real thing. But it's an interesting way to perceive this entire experience, because this is something that every Eldar is concerned with. And so to say that, you know, like to give it a title like this is not, I don't think it's very damning.
Yeah. And especially since it's like,
you see what I did there?
Sure.
Damning, because you die. It's the
It has
afterlife.
nothing to do with past betrayals.
But it has everything to do with, all right, next time.
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's why you're here, Rio.
But yeah, so like the Eldar, they actually have an afterlife. So like the Path of the Dead actually is something that happens to every Eldar. They all walk down this path. They all reach it. During their life, they're always focused on this too. Like they don't want to get, like we said earlier, they don't want to overindulge themselves. So, because then in the afterlife, it's going to be bad for them. Slaanesh is going to eat them.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess you're going to talk about it. So there's a way that they can circumvent their souls being consumed by
Yes, and it is by following the Path of the Dead is how we
During life, you follow the Path of the Dead?
A little bit, yes. It's kind of an overarching thing. It begins when you're alive, and then once you're dead is when it really picks up.
Yeah.
But the next two sentences will kind of set up the entire path for you. So, while all Eldar could live unbelievably long lives, they all too often end, whether at the hands of the Empyrean, protecting their craft worlds, or raids from any untold number of Xenos races. And instead of succumbing to this fate of being consumed by Slaanesh, the Eldar have found a way to persist beyond their mortal bodies.
Mm-hmm. Galaxy is a dangerous place.
Yeah, it's not a good time.
Yeah, even if you're
immortal.
That's a weird word, but
yeah, even if you might be able to live forever.
Yeah.
It's still dangerous. So
Yeah.
the Path of the Dead is the Eldar afterlife. This path is always on their minds. The fate of being devoured by Slaanesh is not a pleasing one for Eldar. While the first step along this path is to acquire a spirit stone, it truly begins when the Eldar perishes and their soul is trapped within that stone.
Yeah.
So whatever path they were doing while they were alive, it doesn't matter at this point because now they are trapped within this soul stone.
Yeah. So, spirit stones. Spirit stones, they have many different names. Some of them are called soul stones, way stones, Isha's tears. So we might throw some different variations there, but
we're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah. So they're created.
Pylons.
Construct
There's not
additional
the word
pylons.
stone in it though.
Pylons.
Stones, pie stones.
Isha's tears doesn't have stones in them either.
He's
That's
got you there.
Well, but Isha's tears
Pylons.
might be debatable if that's actually what they are. We'll get into it. So, you dumb bitch, before you call me out.
That's what I thought you brought me here for.
No, you're supposed to be yes men.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Queen.
So created spirit stones are created out of psychoreceptive crystals. These small stones are normally seen placed on the Eldar's chest. It is very important that the Eldar keep their spirit stones with them at all times, for when they die, the stone traps their soul or spirit or, their psychic self within it. The process stops their spirit from entering the warp and being devoured by the denizens of the warp. So yeah, they have this stone, and at the moment of the death, their soul gets sucked into that instead of into the warp. So this is actually how they're able to essentially really live forever and have
Avoid
an actual
Slaanesh.
afterlife. Yeah, because in this stone too, they are aware of like themselves. They do. I don't think they have any like extra sensory or perception. Like they don't have eyes on the stone. They don't know what's happening around. But
they're conscious.
They are conscious inside this stone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They can be communicated with.
Yeah.
They can offer knowledge and even like.
How is the communication?
It's all psychic.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are also instances of souls within stones reaching outside of themselves psychically. So
yeah,
there's it's a very fluid. Questions come later. It's a very fluid kind of understanding of what it actually means to be trapped within a stone.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Do you have to be in physical contact with the stone, or does it just need to be near you?
Yeah, so we don't know exactly. I don't think it's ever been clarified. We tried looking like how it actually works. We came up with a couple different ideas. So it could be a trap where literally the closest psychic creature to it goes into it.
Yeah, no
upon
matter
death.
what soul dies, like if it's within the radius of that soul stone,
Yeah.
you'll be trapped in that soul. So,
Yeah.
like, is that a possibility? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
but I've never heard of like. Now I don't know a lot about Eldar, but what if you like killed something that was super psychic, or when you were like going around? Could you have like an orc swimming around with your Eldar in your stone?
We don't know, but we do have a topic here that we're going to talk about. Yeah, it could be possible to put other things, other psychic creatures in the stone.
So like a Primarchy, maybe.
Yep.
One of their
possibly. Once again, like GW's never touched on it, so we don't fully
they're
know.
a very Eldar specific thing, and they never really come into contact with other races within the galaxy. So we don't even, or at least I don't think I've come across any stories of like Inquisitors interacting with Soul Stones or Space Marines interacting with.
Not so much on like more than I'm gonna fuck this up.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and kill it or
destroy
something.
this stone. Yeah.
Yes, but
Or
like
put it away.
experiments
Yeah.
is not really done in the story,
Yeah.
so it's really hard to gauge how they actually act. But so we had a couple thoughts. Maybe it's a trap. Maybe anything that gets killed around it will just literally be trapped inside the stone.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a vacuum and it's constantly just trying to suck things in, and the first thing to like come near it goes. Maybe we said it requires like you to have enough of a psychic power that you can contain your own soul, and instead of being instantly transported to the warp, you have like a moment where you're able to put yourself inside the stone. Like maybe that's another possibility.
Yeah, maybe it acts as like so when you die, your spirit goes into the warp, and then there's like a giant beacon, which is the soul stone. So you like quickly try to get into it.
Maybe
before
you do
anything gets
actually
you.
go to the warp, and you have to like find your way to the stone.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know like how it works.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing could be like maybe they bond with that stone specifically. So like they're given the stone at a very young age, and like they're constantly maybe throughout the course of their life
flowing their psychic energy through the stone, sharing memories with it,
building that
a psychic bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Between
there
them.
is one Eldrad Uthray who has multiple spirit stones of himself across the galaxy. So we know that apparently you can put your soul into them even before you die.
Right, and it's almost like you can break portions of your soul and split them and place them in these stones.
Yeah.
Another example of weird stone usage would be exarchs. And the fact that they interact with multiple soul stones on a daily basis, or Phoenix Lords that seem to have turned like their soul stones into just portals for their entire essence, and so it's not
it's not
well quantified.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very difficult to like nail down precisely how they act.
Cool.
I think definitely my favorite one though is like it's where the Eldar is like building a connection with it.
Yeah.
It seems the most Eldari.
Because I was thinking, if it was more so like a vacuum, what happens when they're just like slaughtering things? Wouldn't they just get absorbed into it?
Like it might have such like a close range to it where it's like literally it's touching your skin.
Because it has to be they wear it on their chest.
It's normally seen on the chest.
Like if you look at this picture, you can see like the different blues and stuff on his armor. He has different soul stones. So one of them will be his soul stone, the one on the chest, but the other ones might actually have like maybe his
previous
parents or his teachers,
mentors, or very powerful psychic beings that he's borrowing their powers.
And communicating with them. What would you do in this situation? So when you actually look at the Eldar miniatures, they have all these different types of stones scattered across their body.
Interesting. So, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Another thing that we kind of thought is like, what could they potentially trap? You know, is it limited to an Eldar spirit or soul?
Yeah.
Could you bond? Like humans can be very psychic.
Yeah.
So could a human bond with a soul stone or use any of the Eldar ways to however it's done? Could a human effectively recreate that?
Or the Emperor.
Right. Well,
trap him in a soul stone.
Another thing is so Tesseract Labyrinths are a Grey Knight, or they're really only seen around Grey Knight things, but they're called they're Xenos artifacts that Grey Knights don't know exactly how they work, but they are claimed to be like a perfect solution to storing demon souls. Is that instead of sending something back to the warp, or you know,
trap it in there, and now you've essentially taken a bit of the god's power and locked it away for all time.
And part of me was like, well, what if that is a soul stone? Right? What if it's a different name that they're doing it, but in essence, like they are trapping
process,
but they are trapping something else's soul inside this stone to be trapped forever and their power taken away.
Maybe the soul stone isn't necessarily psychic itself, but it is just something they've made psychic.
Well, they do say it's created out of psychoreceptive crystals.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what that means.
It's like we're all trying to like
everyone's like,
you said a string of words.
Why don't we unpack that?
Yeah, like they might not be like truly like psychic. Like
the stones?
Yeah, like
they might not,
receptive and like
they're not shooting out psychic energy, but they
exactly.
like maybe they amplify, maybe they trap and they vacuum in psychic energies. Who knows? But there's many different things that can act as this. So it's more just like, how do you view the stones work?
But I think you could trap almost anything in it. Demons are the one thing where I'm like, maybe not.
Well, are demons souls?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Do they have a soul?
Yeah.
Are they just pure spirit?
Well,
right?
and that's the thing with like the word soul in 40K, and even like when we bring our like real world religious connotations into it, like it can mean so many different things. And really all we're talking about when we say soul, I think, is life force. It's not actually this like spiritual thing, or you know, even a cow has a soul. Like there's not as much weight behind it as, let's say, like, you know, Christians, or
they're an immortal soul that
it doesn't have as much power as that. Like you go kill a gopher that has a soul that you could then potentially trap.
Plants and animals, everything that has a life force has some representation of themselves within the warp. And that's what your soul is.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, like with demons, it's a little weird because they're from the warp in the first place. Like, they're already energy. Maybe you could transfer them in. I don't know. I'm
not saying that they are Tesseract Vault.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
No.
I'm just saying I see similarities between them.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So a soul in 40K is more so energy than it is being, whereas in our world we would say
we've had this discussion
except
before.
for an Eldar. To an Eldar, it is being.
It is. An Eldar
that's not
the only case too.
Yeah, but
is then an Elder soul different then from like a human soul?
It's not. They're just greater.
Yeah,
they have a larger life force than us.
Yeah. Well, if Sanguinius' soul is trapped in the warp, and it has feelings and actions and acts like it's Sanguinius, so.
Yeah, like this, it has everything to do with your psychic ability. Like the larger presence that you had psychically in the material realm, the bigger mirror that your soul has in the warp.
Yeah,
I think.
But it's not. I'm just saying it's not just energy.
It changes so much depending on.
It's not just energy.
It's your personality.
In its basis level, it is energy because. It's like it's only when you get to those upper levels when it's like, okay, no, you do have a distinct personality within your warp, but a gopher doesn't retain any of itself when it dies and its soul is released into the warp. It doesn't retain any of its gopherness.
How many gophers have you killed to verify this claim?
Over 300 million, and I have yet of any to come haunt my dreams.
I'm feeling confident in your analysis then. Okay.
Just saying.
You've done the tests, you've done the studies.
Yeah. Some do. Some live beyond. And that's why it's so important for the Eldar to have this Path of the Dead, is because every single one of them persists in the warp beyond life.
Yeah.
And to lose every single one of your race like that to Slaanesh is why they're so desperate to have a way to circumvent it. And that's why this is so important to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Souls are one of those weird things in 40K where different authors will have even different ways that they use that word.
Yeah.
And
it's tough.
Yeah, there's no Lexicanum article where it's like souls. And
yeah,
it's
this is the
one
quantifiable.
sentence. Yeah, exactly. You know, but
although that would be interesting.
I'll make an article and it will get deleted quickly, and I'll make another one, and then I'll tell all the Lorehammer listeners, make this article on souls, and
everyone go upvote this article.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make it happen for sure.
For you, bud.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, it'll fit so well into your philosophy, as soon as like soul is quantified, then you're like, yes, the effects of the philosophy on the soul.
Oh no.
Perfect.
I'll write a treatise on souls in the 41st millennium.
Well, if they exist, it means we can do crimes against them, which means we need a way to protect them, right?
Rights of the soul.
That's right.
Add it to the UN Declaration.
That's right. I'll be emailing them too. I'm on it. Any other? I'm going to use the word demands from you guys that I need to take care of.
So
we should probably do this podcast.
Yes, let's get back in here. So the last thing, in this is safely stored within the stone once you die. The next step on the Path of the Dead would be to integrate the stone and the soul within it into an infinity circuit.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get more into what that is in a bit.
Yeah. But we're not going to unpack infinity circuits yet.
Mm-hmm. But we are going to talk about the origins of spirit stones. We mentioned earlier Isha's tears. So Eldar, they have this vast mythology.
With a pantheon of
very
gods.
much like Greek kind of level.
The gods that existed above us, and then every once in a while they would interact with us, and we were seen as like their followers.
So spirit stones in Eldar mythology were called Tears of Isha, or Isha's Tears. Long ago, Asurian, the head of the pantheon, built a barrier between the Eldar and the gods. The barrier was said to protect the Eldar from the wrath of Cain, who was the god of war. And the reason why this barrier was built was there's another Eldar god who told a prophecy that the Eldar would kill Cain.
Yeah, and then the
god of war.
So then Cain was like, nope.
No, I'm not going to let that happen. So then Cain was going to go kill all the Eldar.
Literally, he was going to exterminate the entire race. Yeah.
So the head of the pantheon, Asurian, sure, built this barrier between
the Eldar gods and the Eldar people.
Yeah. The weird thing about this mythology is it could be true. It might not be true.
It might be allegorical.
Were these Eldar god like warp beings?
Yes.
We don't know.
Were they literally just powerful Eldar?
Yeah.
Were they old ones? Were they nothing more than stories that Eldar passed down to their children?
So how this barrier was built, what it actually was, who knows? Who knows?
That's like one of my favorite things about the Eldar is they're like gods might be real or they might not.
And then you have
but
the
don't
avatar
know.
of Cain and a very real manifestation of a god. And then it makes you backtrack everything you thought you knew about Eldar mythology and say, what if it is a literal representation?
Yeah, it could be, or they could just be like the avatar, or the avatar of Cain could be some warp entity, and then they've built this.
They've built an entire mythos out of it
around this, and it's like, oh yeah, but you're actually and they made this whole big thing, and it actually means nothing.
Yeah.
So it's all very weird. But anyway, so Azurian also decreed that no member of the Pantheon was to communicate with the Eldar ever again. So Isha, the god of healing and fertility, was deeply saddened by this decree.
Sad.
Much sad, yeah. For it was her and Kronos, or Kurianos? Kurianos, the god of the hunt, that had created the Eldar. So these two gods created the Eldar. And
it was their love baby.
Yes. That's how babies work. I'm glad you know how reproduction works, Eric.
Yeah. So these two lovers, Isha and Kurnos, approached Val, who was the god of the forge, and petitioned him to make a way for Isha to communicate with her children.
Yeah.
Because again, there was this barrier up.
Yeah. For me, I know I personally love it when I cannot talk to my mother and there's a barrier, but she gets upset.
She constantly goes to the god of the forge and asks for ways to communicate with her child because she loves you and she wants to take care of you and make sure you're okay, and all you have for her is nothing but a steaming pile of
love. No.
I was gonna say regret.
No, that's my dad.
Oh, that's right.
Disappointment.
Disappointment.
You're looking for.
Yeah.
So these two lovers approached Val. So Val agreed, and the tears of Isha were created. So this allowed them to communicate for a time with the Eldar before being discovered. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah,
What happens?
There's an entire story in the mythology about this.
Yeah.
So.
What happens when actually they get discovered that they broke the decree and whatnot, and now they're talking to Eldar. So whether this actually happened or if this is a metaphor, we don't know. But it is known, but if it is a metaphor, it could symbolize the crystallization process of the psychic energies of the eye. Whatever that means. We read that out of Lexicon, and I'm trying to unpack that.
Yeah, like the story of, because they know how these spirit stones are created, right? They go mine them and everything, so it's not like they understand, but they could just be telling their children a story of thank goodness for Isha and her tears, because now it allows these crystals to grow,
and that's to communicate with their gods.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So wait, what's the eye? The eye?
Oh, the Eye of Terror, I'm assuming, the biggest warp rift.
Yeah.
But
so okay,
I thought that appeared later on though.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. So
when did this mythology appear? Did this mythology come after M25, or has this mythology existed for the millions of years that the Eldar race has persisted? And that's another thing to take into consideration when you're wondering the validity of the actual mythology.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's so tough to pick apart, like, this is when this part of the mythology could have been added. This is when this part. So.
Yeah. And then, like spirit stones, if the mythology is true, would have had two very different uses. So for millions of years before the fall of Eldar,
they would have been using spirit stones.
Yeah, they would have been using them as a way to communicate with, their Eldar gods.
Yes.
Yeah, whether they went inside and the gods could then channel themselves into that spirit stone and talk to them, who knows how it works.
One of the ways we were kind of thinking about it though was that pre-Slanesh, when an Eldar died, what if they had a choice? What if they had a choice to go into their spirit stone and keep their being, as it were, or what if they had a choice to disappear into the warp? and enter into it as their psychic being and join themselves to the energy that's constantly flowing within it. And what if it, like, we had another thought, what if it was a religious thing? Like, those who subscribed to the religion of the Pantheon would accept this gift that Isha had given them and would choose to stay alive and then be a part of a psychic community but they still held their own consciousness. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But
interesting.
Yeah. But then, after the fall of the Eldar, Spirit Stones we definitely know exist.
Now it's a necessity. Yeah. Now, like, you can't not have it.
Yeah.
So,
but could you still use the Spirit Stone for the first use?
Absolutely.
To like communicate
if
with
they
the
existed back then, right?
So the one big thing about the Eldar gods is they all died except for 3 of them. So that original use you can't do. So the 3 that survived, one is the
Isha's alive.
Yeah, but she's also trapped in Nurgle's garden. So you cannot communicate with the original Isha.
Yeah.
Because she's trapped in Nurgle's garden. You can't communicate. Hey, I don't know. You gave
me
Sure.
I swear there's a story of someone actually communicating with Isha.
Well, like, I guess if you go to the Garden of Nurgle.
Is that okay? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Whenever you're involving the warp, we get into
it's
that
tough.
whole like, okay, there's no way to really logic this through.
Yeah.
Because what is Nurgle's garden?
No,
exactly.
This is the Path of the Dead.
So,
this is an Eldar episode.
But yeah, so then the other one, the Cain, the god of war, his spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it, was fragmented and like
shattered.
And like it's now like a physical thing on craft worlds. And then there's the other living one, which is Tesseract, which is like the laughing god, the god of the Harlequins, and he's alive and
apparently doing things, and apparently you can go interact with Tesseract.
Apparently, yeah. So
that adds validity to the entire mythology. Just the fact that Tesseract is a being you can interact with.
Yeah.
And
but
many people claim to have met him.
Yeah, but it could just be some crazy powerful warp entity, you know? Like, we don't know. But yeah, like, so Tesseract using the Spirit Stone to communicate with him, I don't think he would do that. Or you would do that both ways. I don't think Tesseract would allow that communication because he just
maybe you dial the number, but he wouldn't pick up.
Exactly.
And then do you even know it's a phone then if no one ever picks up when you dial?
Exactly.
So what if it literally never works? At what point do you lose faith that this was a religious thing at all? You know?
Yeah. So that's the Eldar mythology behind Spirit Stones.
Did we finish it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We don't know what any of it means.
Okay, yes. Yes. The origins of the Spirit Stones are communicated in the mythology. It's whether or not that mythology is a story or true or not even related at all is what's up for debate. Yeah. So, but we're not debating that here.
Yeah, but I do love it that you can debate that. Like,
absolutely,
it's
so nice.
Answer.
It's nice that it's not cut and dry on this one, especially a mythology.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, like I would never want more. I would never want it to be explained. What I would like is more stories. Oh yeah, those are the gods right there. So you have Cain in the middle, Isha on that side, and then is that Tesseract behind the Harlequin?
Yeah, and then the one above is Yanid, which is like the god of death. That they're
the new one
creating. Yeah, I couldn't find one of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one they're trying to form.
Yeah.
And I think that one's just his avatar. It's not
the
actually,
incarn.
Yeah, it's not actually the god. But hey, close enough. You know. You can get what you get.
We're not artists, so we can't draw. So we just are at the mercy of anything that other people have.
We also can't create our own universe, so we plagiarize that as well.
Yeah. The depths of our thievery know no bounds.
no, they don't.
So let's talk about how an Eldar today would get a Spirit Stone. Let's say there's a joyous event, a baby is born.
Ooh.
On a craft world, an Eldar child. Why are there dinosaurs on this slide, Mark?
Well, we'll get to it.
Okay, perfect.
He's riding.
And so they need Spirit Stones. So acquiring new Waystones is a risky business. The main source of these crystals are on crone worlds, which are the abandoned Eldar homeworlds.
Yeah, and most of them are either in the Eye of Terror or around it, so close to it.
And so then voyaging, that means you're going to the Eye of Terror. So voyaging to these planets is extremely dangerous and sometimes even just impossible.
Yeah. Depending off maybe the warp storm's just too big, you can't get back there.
Maybe it's crawling with demons right now.
Yeah.
You know?
The one interesting thing I did learn though when doing the notes was the Chrome worlds. This is just the main source of spirit stones.
It says the one primary source.
But when you read that means that there are other sources out there. So we're going to get into how there might be other ones, but this is the main way to do it.
Yeah. So even though it's extremely dangerous and sometimes even impossible, the thought of being consumed by Slaanesh is worth risking much for.
Yeah.
Like it's either I might die today, or
I could literally
when I die, I'm going to be consumed by Slaanesh.
Yeah.
So it's a might for a will, right?
Yeah.
And so regular forays onto these crone worlds must be done in order to save Eldar souls.
Yeah.
So wait, do they mine it like? We're
gonna get into
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hold your horses.
Yeah, I know.
Don't
so excited.
don't be hasty.
I love it because there's so much mystery behind it all.
Okay.
So there are some Eldar though that do not need the protection of spirit stones, and therefore would never go into the Eye of Terror to collect them, or would rarely do it. Maybe there's some crazy people. You can always find the exception to the rule.
Of course.
But who we're talking about is the Dark Eldar, and they do not walk the path of the dead. For they walk the path of immortality, never needing a container for their soul. So with Dark Eldar, they would rather just live forever. And they can do this by consuming other people's souls.
And sacrificing them to Slaanesh to save themselves.
Yeah. Or they have like cloning vats where they can literally clone themselves and just, carry themselves on like that. So me and Eric were like, but why don't they just have the soul stone as like a just in case?
Right.
And we were reading some research or whatever, and like the one possibility is like Eldar, Dark Eldar are just so untrustworthy. So if I was a Dark Eldar, I can't trust any of you three guys in this room.
If
if I die and my soul goes into this stone, and I can't trust you guys to keep that safe for me.
Even if I'm the person that you trust the most in the entire universe, I'm still, chances are good, I'm still just going to take your soul and sacrifice it to save my own.
Or devour it yourself and
or eat
extend your own life.
Absolutely.
You cannot trust somebody to do that for you.
It's an impossibility to do that in Khemora.
Yeah. So they walk their own path of devouring souls to save themselves from Slaanesh.
Yeah. Again, path of immortality, not a real thing, something we coined.
Yeah. I didn't know that either. Interesting.
Yeah, we did that when we talked about the paths.
Hand in hand.
Yeah. So other Eldar, like the Exodites,
which are like,
they're on the outskirts of the galaxy.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they're on the fringes of the galaxy.
Yeah.
They don't live on craft worlds. Instead, they populate actual planets.
Yeah.
And they have like typically more agrarian societies.
Yeah.
Where they focus more on connections with land and
like the very gross example would be like they're wood elves essentially. So if craft world guys are high elves, these guys are wood elves.
Well, it's funny that you say it's gross.
It's gross
because I think it was yesterday.
I'm like, I fucking love wood elves.
Yesterday that you literally said you would love to make an Eldar army using wood elf miniatures.
Oh yeah.
But they are fucking gross.
The analogy is gross.
Are you a split mind?
This is Trevor. Yes.
That makes more sense. But yes, Exodites, they don't live on craft worlds.
Yeah. The reason why I say it's gross is it's a good comparison, but it goes so much deeper. Just like Eldar aren't actually elves. Once you know all their lore and stuff, like sure, that was their starting point, but at this point they've gone way past that.
Right.
Exodites.
That's why I have a picture of a dinosaur.
That's right, I know.
Because he's Exodites.
Well, they only ride dinosaurs.
Yeah. But even on that picture, you can see right there, he's got a spirit stone on his lance.
Yeah.
So
they use them.
They definitely use them.
But how would they get them if they, don't have craft worlds? So it's possible that they would leave themselves to go get them. But it's also equally possible that they would trade for them.
Yeah.
Because craft worlds will visit Exodite worlds, or even more typically, probably Corsairs. They're Eldar Corsairs. They're more likely to come in contact with. So it's might be a currency of sorts for them to be like, look, we need X amount of spirit stones for our planet now. We had a wonderful birthing season.
seven new Eldar bays.
Yeah, absolutely.
The most we've had in 30 years.
30 generations.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's very possible that instead it's a trade between them, instead of these Exodites actually journeying all the way to the Eye of Terror, which could conceivably be very far away and very dangerous. Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time too, they do have webway portals that could literally, they might have one that literally just goes to a cave.
Absolutely.
In the Eye of Terror.
Absolutely.
Where they gather them. Who knows?
Yeah, they just walk through that portal and just like yoink and then go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very possible.
So Eldar Corsairs, Corsairs are those who follow the path of the outcast. So where the craft worlds are very strict systems where you follow the path of the poet and you don't do anything else until you're done with that path. Corsairs, they want to live their own life. So they're not bad guys. They're not
pirates.
They're not
in
pirates.
like our traditional understanding of pirates.
Right.
Yeah,
they're just on a different path, but they still believe in like the Eldar race as a whole.
Yeah, but they're really they want to do what they want to do. They're self-serving essentially. So they also use soul stones. So they're typically craft world Eldar that have the desire to make their own way in life. They go on the path of the outcast and join with similar-minded Eldar. But since they are started out as a craft worlder, they would have already had a soul stone from that life, potentially. Because usually I would imagine when you're born on a craft world, you're right away given your soul stone. So then, they're 42 years old and they're like, I'm a man now. I'm going to go voyage off and do my own thing. They would just take their soul stone with them. They're
600 years old and they've decided, Mom, Dad, it's time to leave.
Yeah, exactly. So
and the parents are like, but you're just a baby.
You're just a baby.
Anyways.
I remember back when the Eye of Terror was just opened. You wouldn't have survived back then, this generation.
Get off my back, Mom, Dad, God. Either way.
What are you going to do when Slanesh comes?
It's not real, Dad. It's alive from the Otarks.
I don't like that.
Anyways.
But yes, they use it too.
Yeah, no matter how you get your stones, they are dangerous to get.
Yeah.
But it is worse not to have one.
Yeah.
And that's like the main thing. No matter how dangerous it is, you still must have one.
Yeah. So we don't know, so soul stones are very rare. Like, they don't just have a stash in the back of billions of them. They're incredibly rare and precious.
Yeah.
So when you're given a soul stone, it might even be like if you and your Eldar partner want a child, you two might have to go venture and find a soul stone before you can even be allowed to have a baby.
Yeah.
So then when that
would be an
baby's
interesting concept.
Yeah, it's possible. We don't know when the soul stones are given, but most likely, if it's possible, you're going to be given a soul stone as soon as possible. You can't risk that. You can't risk it.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
But your baby dies like in infancy and
gets
immediately eaten by Slanesh.
Bleak.
That's bleak.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Well, that's not good.
But they are mined.
Yeah.
They're like crystals that grow on these Crone World planets. That's the primary source at least. And then these Eldar do have to go and mine these crystals.
Yeah.
But because they're psychoreceptive, it's very possible that it's not mining in like our traditional sense or once like. Okay, so bone singers like sing to manipulate Wraithbone, which is warp energy.
Sure.
And these crystals grow in the Eye of Terror.
Yeah.
So half in the Empyrean and half. It's not even impossible to think like that it requires some special psychic ability to even mine these things.
Yeah.
Right? So
or maybe even for them to grow in the first place.
Yeah, maybe like the Eye of Terror is the perfect breeding ground for them because it's half in reality and half not, right? Yeah.
So we're thinking like, that's pretty key. So if they happen in the Eye of Terror, it's possible that the other sources for these stones are just around other warp rifts. So
like the Emperor's Wrath or whatever.
Yeah, the Maelstrom.
Yeah.
So that's maybe where you can find more of them. They might not be as reliable or whatever, but they also might just be a naturally occurring thing. but it's just
on any planet.
On any planet, but it's like, there's only a 0.00001% chance that they spawn on a planet.
Sure.
Where on the Chrome worlds, for some reason, that they just had that metal or that.
Or maybe that's why they
mineral.
went. That's why they were there. Is
In
because
the first
that's,
place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick your poison.
Yeah, who knows? Like, they might even be like just the Eldar created them millions of years ago on that planet. Like,
Seeded, right?
Seeded. Who knows?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, so with the warp rift opening up across the galaxy, like the chance to get soul stones, if they do in fact appear around warp energy and material universes, like maybe they're literally diamonds that have been affected by warp energy. Who knows? But it's possible that soul stones are more common now, which could be kind of cool because it could
kind of give them like a breathing
moment
moment to relax and say,
Yeah,
okay, like we don't have to go into the Eye of Terror anymore, so
Yeah.
we can get an abundance of them and we can focus on other things.
Yeah, we might be able to grow our population bigger now because we don't have to worry about when we die.
Yeah.
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 Because I would imagine that would be a huge factor. Like,
Of course, what's the point of having a baby if they're not going to have a soul stone?
Yeah,
like you would not risk your child's soul.
Yeah, like I could imagine that being a very real thing. Where if they're more abundant, yeah, maybe the life cycle will happen more often now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Interesting.
All right, so now we know where they come from. We know what they do. Let's bring it on back to...
Do we know where they come from?
Yeah, Crone Worlds.
Oh, okay.
And the Eldar mythology, Mark. Were you not paying attention?
Sorry.
But now let's bring it on back to that last sentence that we said, which was... safely stored within the stone, the next step on the path of the dead would be to integrate the stone and the soul within it into an infinity circuit. So let's talk about integrating with infinity circuits. Nice crystal bodies.
Mm-hmm. While the spirit stones are important and valuable in their own right, they are more used as a vessel for transporting souls from bodies into the infinity circuit. So this is not the final resting place of an Eldar spirit.
This is just the first part of your path of the dead.
Specialized Eldar seers.
First step
Along the path of the dead. Oh, jeez. Specialized Eldar seers called spirit seers have vast knowledge of the dead and how to handle and take care of them.
Whoa now. Easy, boy. Here's a rowdy dead boy.
Rowdy dead boy. They're all cowboys.
That's right. When the Eldar body dies and their soul is trapped within the Spirit Stone, they will hopefully be brought back to their craft world's infinity circuit, or in the case of an Exodite, their world shrine, to be joined with the other deceased members of the Eldar race.
Yeah, and even Eldar Corsairs, when they die, they will typically be brought back to a craft world.
Hopefully where they came from.
Yeah, hopefully, into their infinity circuit.
Yeah. The stone is placed, or even grafted is another way to think about it, onto the Wraith bone, and the Eldar spirit may join their race's afterlife. And this is the current understanding of the Eldar's afterlife, is being joined in the infinity circuit.
Mm-hmm. With all these other souls. A good thing to think of, is just picture a tree. So the craft world is the tree, and we use that word grafting.
Intentionally,
because it's very much like that. Like Wraithbone is this living's a weird word.
It can be
you can grow it and stuff.
Yeah.
It can carry psychic energies along it.
Energy flows through it, just like a tree.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you're grafted onto it, now you've become a part of this whole thing, and your energy can go throughout the entire ship of the Eldar craft world.
Yeah.
Because it's all made of that Wraithbone.
So once a spirit seer attaches your spirit stone onto the Wraithbone, it continues to grow. The stone actually grows.
Yeah.
And then it grows. Once it grows large enough, then it can actually be plucked away from its branch in times of great need, and placed inside a Wraith construct. I mean, you become a ghost warrior. But your spirit stone actually needs to grow on the Wraithbone for enough time for it to be taken off of it. And I picture that interestingly. Like, does it measure, is it just everyone, 30 days and then you're good? Or does it matter with the person inside the stone? Does it have to do with their growth? And what if someone is more powerful? Do they need less time to grow, or do they need more time to grow? So
it could even be growing your character. So now the stone is in the infinity circuit with all these ancient Eldar who are so wise, and now maybe you actually have to grow your character to become good enough to be able to be plucked away. Like you have to weed out all the faults of your character, and that actually grows your crystal, you know?
Yeah. However you would want to like view it, I think is pretty
nice.
But that soul that was in the stone before it was placed in the infinity circuit, once it's plucked, it still has that same soul, right?
Yeah. You can't go in someone else's spirit stone.
That would, first of all, just be rude.
I wonder how it would feel, though, right? Like,
Greg,
because the stone.
Why are you doing stone?
The stone. I especially like to think of the stone.
On everything.
I like to think of the stone as it's the bond. You have to create this psychic bridge that you've been building your entire life,
right?
And then to go into someone else's house, right, and like claim ownership of it would just be like an affront.
Yeah.
Like how terrible would that be? So yeah, you go back into your own stone, which is why like the individual stones are so important. Because
could you pluck it and then their like energy be somewhere else in the ship? Because if they're traveling along the Wraith Bone and you're like, no one's home.
I think you could. I truly do. It's a very important thing for spirit seers to be able to commune with the dead and interact with them.
Yeah.
It's possible that if you plucked it, it would just rip you out from the infinity circuit no matter where you are. Because I don't think it's a matter of you're on one portion of the ship at a time. I think you're
everywhere.
You're everywhere.
Yeah, you are the ship now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's possible that you could just rip it away, and maybe that would be absolutely terrible for the Eldar spirit.
Would you say it'd be soul-wrenching?
Shattering.
Oh,
Mark.
Shatter
them beyond. But it's possible that would be like jarring to their spirit, but it's possible it wouldn't. I think it would be personally, though, but it's nothing confirming.
So it's kind of like a USB plugged into a computer on the internet that's running
safely
the internet.
Remove. Yeah, you have to wait till you communicate with the computer and tell it, I'm going to remove this USB. And then the computer says,
I've been doing it wrong.
You just pull out, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. That's not good.
So the Infinity Circuit, each craft world and every Exodite world has an Infinity Circuit, though the Exodite refers to them as world shrines. These circuits are crafted of Wraithbone, a psychoplastic substance, or solidified warp energy, that's Wraithbone, overseen by bone singers. These circuits act as though they are alive, and spiritual energy coursing through them.
Mm-hmm. Something we missed right before this, though, because we said that when you pluck, you would be put in a Wraith Construct.
Yeah.
And while this may seem like a very useful ability to do that, it is viewed by the majority of the Eldar as necromancy, which is the act of controlling the dead.
Yeah.
Which we will get back to later.
Yeah.
That's no bueno.
Yeah. The Infinity Circuit is what harnesses the psychic energy of its inhabitants and sustains a large portion of craft world life. So like they actually run the ship off of the souls in the Infinity Circuit.
Yeah, but maybe not all of it.
Maybe not all of it. Who knows what portions of it.
But the psychic energy does run through the entire ship. And each
is
Eldar,
used as an energy source.
And each Eldar interacts with that psychic energy.
This doesn't actually like consume the Eldar soul, so it's not like, it doesn't waste it. It's just they're then contributing their psychic energy that I guess they're currently always creating.
Well, they're a psychic being, right?
So it's like, they might have a cooldown, but it's not killing the souls on the inside to power the craft worlds.
Okay.
Which is important because
is.
This means that they can potentially be sustained forever in this Infinity Circuit.
Yeah.
So the souls within this Infinity Circuit, if it's large enough, and I'm assuming on every craft world at this point it would be.
Yeah, there's been thousands of years.
Yeah. They form a Gestalt spirit. It might not be right to call it a consciousness or a being or an entity, but it can act with a singular will, and it can even understand and perceive and even affect events that happen in real time.
Yeah.
So even if these walls in the studio were made of Infinity Circuit and there is this psychic energy all around us, even though we aren't communicating with it, it still has an understanding of what is happening on some level. Yeah. Who knows whether it just knows that friends are in the room, or maybe it knows that Mark, James, Eric, and Rio are in the room. Like it's a little unclear because it's this consciousness, this spirit isn't really, you can't really communicate with it like one-on-one. but it almost feels like you can beseech the spirit of your craft world, and the spirit of the craft world can rise up in defense or in anger or something. Because it's very interesting to note that in times of war, the craft world itself can fight. And that's what is fighting.
It'll
is
like
this
change,
spirit.
put up walls in the way of people trying.
It'll
to invade.
collapse entire like buildings onto their enemies.
Yeah.
Like it's,
that's
but
crazy.
it can do it of its own will, which is very interesting.
Yeah. Like craft worlds are always like, they're big and they're cool.
They're planet sized, right?
very
Like,
cool.
Yeah.
planet sized with the ability to go inside them. So much bigger than a planet.
So the circuit can be communicated in one of two ways. Either question as a whole or a single consciousness of that craft world. Or it can be pulled out, like you pull out the individual spirits.
Yeah.
So once you're a part of this infinity circuit, you're not just lost to it. You can still be pulled out and talk to it individually.
Yeah, you can still retain your individuality and your personality.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's possible to these craft worlds have thousands of souls at this point.
Potentially millions.
Yeah, potentially. Who
Right.
knows? And, over 10,000 years and just how much knowledge they would have. So they're often really leaned on in times of decision making, like what do you think we should do? And then everyone can kind of just put up their gathered experiences and give you this would be a good course of action. So it'd be interesting to think if different craft worlds actually have different answers to the same question, because they all have souls.
Do they develop a spirit that is kind of unique to the experiences of the Eldar that are within it?
Yeah, because there are some craft worlds that focus very much on war as opposed, and not only in self-defense, but
some attack,
aggressive,
create war,
So-
and then others are completely pacifists.
So
right?
the experiences of the dead would be very different. So you might even get very different answers from craft worlds, even though it also might average out. Maybe
on
who
the
knows,
flip side, it's very possible that all Eldar, given the right amount of time, they come to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have 1 million Eldar souls constantly living as fast as light, or however fast psychic energy moves, having that ability to reason with themselves and with each other millions and millions and millions of time over, do they all eventually come to the same conclusion?
Yeah.
Right. And that's another thought, is maybe they would all act very similarly in
across
times.
craft
Yeah.
worlds. But hey, even at the same time, one craft world, you ask it the same question one day and the same question the next day, they might give you a different answer, even though
It's possible.
nothing has changed.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's just they've thought it out that much further, or maybe some of the spirits didn't contribute the first time. You're not forced to contribute when you're in the infinity circuit. Spirit seers can pull you out, but they can't force you to talk. They can't force you to answer.
I don't really, when I view the Gestalt consciousness, I don't really view it as an actual million Eldar voices conversing.
Yeah.
It's more you can add batteries and batteries and batteries, and then at some point you just have a lot of power.
Sure.
Right? And you might remove one battery out, and you can't feel it when there's 7 million batteries, right? So, but it's less of you have a choice or whatever. It's just you are the infinity circuit, but you are also at the same time an individual.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's all words.
Yeah, it's also not well put down. So
Well, that's cool. That gives you more room to
It does.
build with it.
Yeah.
If you were doing your own craft world, you could be
Yeah.
well, this is what my craft world
what if you
does.
created a rogue infinity circuit where it's been corrupted or manipulated in somehow, and it's turning on all of its inhabitants, and no one has realized that this is happening, and it's been slowly steering you wrong for 500 years.
Because the
And
demon's been put inside of it.
absolutely,
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, it's so.
Is that possible?
Why not? Likely, no.
No, I'm pretty sure
I don't think it's likely.
Oh, sure. But I'm pretty sure there's a story about it, of Slaneshi demons infiltrating a craft world
Perfect.
to infinity circuits.
Do you think theoretically two infinity circuits could join together and form a bigger?
Absolutely,
super circuit.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
all of the circuits have joined together.
Well,
for
that's
this
what-
final push.
That's what Yvraine is attempting to do.
Oh, okay.
She tries to get everyone to donate their infinity circuits to her so she can sacrifice them to Iniad.
And to create a god.
I think that's what she's trying to do.
Interesting.
Right? She's trying to consume Eldar souls into Iniad and give them to a god.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Which is no different effectively than Slaanesh, but hey, who am I to judge?
But this is a good one.
Oh, it's a good god. This time it'll work.
We will control it.
Yes.
This time it'll work.
So how crazy would it be if they changed the story so that Slaanesh wasn't an accident, but they wanted to create her, and then it wasn't like they just thought, oh, we'll control this god of decadence just like us, and then all of a sudden
It backfired.
it was just way more powerful than they ever could have imagined, and it started eating them.
Well,
That would be
if you
cool.
create a
be
god and it decides to rampage specifically against your race, the next best thing to do is to
Do it
build
again.
another god.
Yeah, especially when the
Eldars
first
do.
god was the god of pleasure,
Right.
and that had such great outcome.
Yeah, and now
Then
you
you
do
want
the
to
god
create
of
death. Yeah.
Perfect.
So Bealtan, its infinity circuit was infiltrated by demons.
Very cool.
So
Wow,
yeah,
yeah,
it
that's
opens up
sick.
a whole thing. Like potentially even you could put humans inside of it. Sure, but it even like back to spirit stones. I think you could probably put a demon in a spirit stone. I think you probably could because
yeah.
it's very similar.
What if you create an infinity circuit without any elder souls, only demons?
just demons in one towel?
Just a full demon infinity
And one-
circuit.
Why are you
Yeah.
trying to create a demon world, Ringo? It's just this consciousness that you can go ask questions to made of demons. What's the problem?
Question though, I guess we've talked about how they can affect the real world.
They can.
So if you did you can't trap demons in the infinity circuit.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a bad.
maybe not infinity circuits, but probably spirit stones. Because spirit stones have much less. Because you're just an individual then. There's no gestalt forming, right?
But you keep using that word.
Well, I had to look up what it meant, and now I feel confident actually using it. So
It's just like I don't know. Demons are just like this infinite force. So keep throwing them into things seems like better than just throwing them back into the warp so that they come back again.
that's
and
why we need
hit you.
Tesseract Labyrinths.
It's that simple.
It's that
You
simple.
need a trillion Tesseract Labyrinths,
And
and
just-
you need a blank
you still
every square meter of the galaxy. Those two things, you'll be fine.
Right. We did discuss that. Blank Fortress.
That's right.
You know that Rick and Morty episode where they just like he has all the Mortys on his fortress.
Oh, and they're all just
Then you just have a blank fortress, which is just a bunch
their
of blanks
brainwaves, Morty.
just strapped to your fortress so that no psychers can get in.
Yeah.
It's unstoppable.
Crazy.
Unlimited power.
I just picture like all these blanks with like intravenous into them so that they're fed, and then they're just like strapped there for their whole life. You grab more blanks, strap them to your fortress again.
You're coming up with some very bleak ideas today.
Yeah, that's a crazy.
You an
one.
okay headspace, James?
I'm creating a blank city.
Who needs walls when you can have bodies? Oh.
First of all, no one would
Interesting.
want to go there because not only is it bleak, but it's blanks, so it'd just be super uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
The whole
You would
planet.
hate it.
Yeah.
You're just
It's
like
the
go
most
to the-
depressing planet you've ever
Well, like
seen.
you just set foot on the planet, you're like, oh,
You can feel it when you're entering the atmosphere.
yeah. It's
Terrible.
like, God, I hate this place. I hate it already. I haven't even got here yet.
But the blank beside you that you're bringing in handcuffs. Oh my God, I'm at home.
And then you just like chain him in, and he's like, this
He's
feels
good.
right. This feels good.
I deserve this for being who I am.
I would
Yikes.
add in the little stabbies onto the.
Oh, you got
Not
it.
for necessity though.
No, that's just part of the. That's just
the
part
appeal.
Of the, aesthetic.
The appeal. Yeah, I get it. So that's pretty much everything about the Eldar Afterlife. Really, we've talked about Soul Stone's infinity circuits, which makes up the
99%,
majority.
yeah.
What almost every Eldar would experience. There is something else, but for almost every Eldar, that is their afterlife: is
Yeah.
being in the Spirit Stone and then being in the infinity
Yeah.
circuit as
Communing
a part
with,
of their
like,
race.
Yeah, everything around you, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably transcending your perception on
Yeah.
some things.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so. Yeah, but there is another portion of the Path of the Dead, and this is necromancy. So it's something we shared previously
Yeah.
on the episode.
So once in the Infinity Circuit, spirit stones are rarely removed, but in the most dire of circumstances, the stones can be withdrawn and used for other purposes. Removing spirit stones is necromancy because you're literally taking like somebody's dead soul and kind of...
It's a control and command of the dead.
Yeah, command's a weird word, but...
I mean, it's
they don't control
They
them.
do. They guide.
Guide
What's
and
the
control.
difference?
Guide and control is very different.
Sure, like, oh, I'm going to run that way. No, this way, that way. No, this way, that way. No.
I think that just
this
speaks
way.
very much volumes about my personality and yours. I'm very trusting and accepting.
Okay.
You're a cynical dick
Sorry.
sometimes. Yeah.
Necromancy is literally described as the control of the dead. So
Yeah, the word
in this
necromancy.
context,
But yeah, like
even in
this-
40K, it's described as control.
Yeah,
we can
but-
go to the necromancy side, and it talks about they don't like it because it's controlling dead.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not arguing that, but you're making it sound like literally you take them out and now they're bound to you and you control every aspect.
You
But
could.
but that's not how it is. Though.
But that's what some
You
people view it
guide them.
as.
Oh, sure. View and is are different
And
things.
it's very possible that that's what some do.
Oh, sure.
And
maybe,
that's why it's viewed as such an
maybe
evil
if you're
act.
a super powerful psyker, you can overpower them. Sure. Absolutely. But I don't see it like that. I don't see the Eldar dicking over their ancestors in that way to control them. Like it just doesn't seem...
It's sure if that's how you see it.
Maybe the aspect of control is the removing from the Infinity.
Yeah, that would
Maybe.
be very much it. Like
Yeah, the
you're
fact that you
taking them
have to
out.
you pull them
the fact
out.
that you
You're
pull them
just
out is the
oozing around
exertion.
in the Wraith bone, just like,
And it,
I've been in here for 10,000
No
years.
blanks being poked in here.
You get
exactly.
sucked out into
Yeah.
your stone, and you're like, what is happening? And then you get stuck into this death soldier, and you're like,
Yeah.
now you're, what is this? I was oozing around in the Wraith
Absolutely,
stone.
yeah.
Bone. Not Wraith stone. Wraith bone.
Yeah, so the most common thing that happens with them when they're taken out is they're used to pilot Wraith Constructs, but they can also be put onto like vehicles to use this specific...
Yeah, or that one seer, that warlock's cloaks that we saw, he had a bunch of soul stones in his armor.
Yeah.
Like those might have been other powerful psychers that he's getting guidance from.
Yeah.
Or he's drawing on their psychic energy and they're lending it to him.
Yeah.
It just
right?
all
So
helps with finding like the perfect time to strike or
You get the hell out of here.
perfect time to attack. Those are all things that like your spirit song.
Well, they've
would
had
know.
millions of years to
Exactly.
talk about these things.
And that's
right?
how
So-
you know when
Yeah.
the perfect time is.
Yeah. But when they take them out, it is usually viewed as like not a good thing. It's out of necessity.
Yes, no one ever does it for fun.
Yeah, they're not taking people out and taking them on the picnic with old
Right.
Grandpa Joe, you know. They're not doing that. It's
This is only in the most like necessary of circumstances.
So you wouldn't see these constructs in just average fights that they have?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that comes down to a value judgment of the craft world itself. How important is this one fight to them?
Right.
This one fight might set the course for their next 10,000 years, but it could be a very small engagement.
Yeah.
So they might view it as an absolute necessity to win this, right?
Yeah.
So
It might even be down to the actual spirit itself. Like maybe it wants to be a warrior. Like it was an Exarch lost on the path of the warrior. That's all it wants to do now. Like it's willing to sacrifice itself.
Exarchs don't join the Infinity Circuit.
Yeah, they're in their own shrine
Yeah.
or whatever. But anywho, Eric, I'm sure they could.
Well,
if
that
the
was your
shrine-
example.
But the shrine could end and they could put him in there. Like,
well, they don't go in the
maybe they're
shrine; they
not-
go in the armor.
yeah, but maybe that shrine ends and the armor is disbanded and now they put it into.
I think a lot of times the armor just like if the shrine like dies, the shrine like disappears
Yeah.
until a time when it rises again.
Sure.
And the armor is refound. But I don't think they ever join actually the Infinity Circuit.
Sure, maybe 9 times out of 10, you're right.
Oh, okay.
If it's 40K, you can always come
Sure,
up with an
you come up with
exception.
whatever you want.
I would
Yeah.
agree, though. Most
Yeah.
of the time, they're just trapped in their armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it could be a warrior who just his calling is to defend the craft world. He doesn't want to be in the Infinity Circuit. So you might have like one of them that's just always kicking about doing warrior things.
Maybe.
Okay, because like otherwise it would seem like you wouldn't see these constructs very often.
Well, some craft worlds, like, they have very few human, or not human, they have very few live Eldar to fight their battles. And so if they don't put out their Wraith Constructs, it's every battle is a loss for them. Right.
Sure.
So like it's a necessity thing, right? Like, do I need to bring them out this time? Some craft worlds will always answer yes, and some craft worlds will always answer no.
Yeah.
And some craft worlds will be in between, and sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say no. So I think that goes all back down to the craft world you want. If you have a vibrant, flourishing, prospering craft world, don't write Wraith Constructs into your story.
Yeah, they probably don't use them.
Exactly. If your craft world there's literally like 1,000 people on it, and it's just a decaying, dead craft world, fill it with Wraith Constructs. Have these haunting ghost warriors walking the streets of your craft world, right? Like,
but hey, even if you are a super successful one, maybe you use them just because, and that's why you're so successful, because you're not losing any living Eldar.
What a special snowflake. No, just created, Mark.
No, like, you can come up with any reason why or why not to use them.
Some are better than others.
Sure.
He's getting frustrated.
Anyways, let's keep talking about ghost warriors.
Yeah, so all wraiths suffer from the phenomenon known as wraith sight, which alters their perception of the world from that of mortals, and causes them to react more slowly to changes on the battlefield. To counteract this, they're usually accompanied by a spirit seer who guides them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's described as living in a dream.
Yeah, like, the sides of your vision is always fuzzy, and then, you might blank out for one second.
Yeah, you might lose
somewhere completely different doing something else, like it's very
it's not like experiencing real life.
Yeah.
You don't take them out for them to be like, wow, like, look at how life has changed, because they're not perceiving it as life. They perceive it as a dream.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So in order to counteract that, they have spirit seers who guide
to control them. Yeah. No, guide is definitely the word that is used.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the different kinds of Wraith Constructs that we have come across.
That's a blurry one.
That's
I
grainy.
did this on my my computer, not on the TV.
So the most common one that you would see in a craft world would be Wraith Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are humanoid constructs, and they stand over 10, somewhere between 10 and 15 feet, depending on how up their cone head you want to really measure, Yeah. And they can be armed with a variety of close-range guns or melee weapons. So they basically have, like, their head, and you put the soul inside their head, and they're grafted to this construct, and then they can control it.
Yeah, if you had to make a comparison, I would equate them to dreadnoughts.
Sure, very much. Yeah,
that's that without being close, it's the closest that I could come to in terms of how they act.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they have different varieties. Like
Wraith blades.
Some have swords and axes. Some have guns. Like there's different things. But
the interesting thing about war gear when it comes to constructs and ghost warriors is that the soul is given a preference.
Yeah.
So whether the soul was like, no, I loved getting in their faces and literally shredding them to bits. Like, place them in a Wraith blade construct. Don't make them shoot, right? Give them what they're comfortable with, what their spirit will react with better. So that's an interesting thing, is that the soul is given a preference in terms of its loadout. I wonder if, like, they're like, no, we need Wraith Guard. We need guys with guns. And so they might say, like, no, like, Jimmy, like, you only like slicing things with your knife, so we're not going to put you in a Wraith construct today.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a thing. It's how I could see a potential conversation going.
Sure. Yeah. Between Spirit Seer.
Yeah, and the Infinity Circuit.
Yeah. Very formal conversation.
No, Jimmy.
So, you dirty dog. We don't need any more axes today, but I'll get you next time.
So Wraith Lords, these are also humanoid constructs. Like, all these wraiths share a very similar aesthetic.
Yeah, they look very similar to each other.
Yeah, they're all very smooth humanoid.
They're very sleek.
Yeah,
they look very lithe.
Yeah.
Graceful too.
Yeah. So they're humanoid constructs standing over 20 feet tall, and once again, they can be armed with a variety of weapons, shooting, melee, once again, depending on who wants it. An interesting thing, though, is sometimes warlocks, which are like Eldar battle psychers, are put into these Wraith Lords, and then they become Wraith Seers.
So they have a Spirit Stone and a human and an Eldar pilot.
No, that's someone else.
Okay.
So Wraith Seers then can go around the battlefield, and since they're trained as a warlock, they can unleash psychic powers as they go.
So are you saying they put a Spirit Stone with the soul of a warlock in it, or an actual warlock gets into it?
No, the Spirit Stone.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, Spirit Stone.
A Spirit Stone is placed into it, which has the soul of a warlock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it can unleash like psychic powers and stuff. You could reasonably assume that Wraith Guard or even Wraith Knights, you could put a warlock into them too and have a very similar thing. It just doesn't exist on tabletop. But there's no reason why you couldn't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe warlocks are just more rare.
Sure. Yeah, you would want to give them something bigger and better. Yeah.
Who knows? So the next thing we have are Wraith Knights. So these are humanoid constructs, but they stand over 50 feet tall. They can be armed with a variety of close-range guns, melee weapons. Just it all comes down to the preference of who's piloting it.
Yeah.
But what makes this one unique is that it's piloted by a living Eldar and a Spirit Stone. Oh, this is the one. Okay.
Yeah.
But to add even more complexity into it, they have to be twins.
Yeah.
So they
really?
share some psychic connection because they gestated together or whatever, right? So
this bond allows the siblings to have complete control over the construct, allowing it to move at blurring speeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
These must be rare.
Yeah, they're pretty rare because you have to have twins.
Yeah.
And then one has to be dead
Yeah,
and one
that's
has to be
crazy.
alive.
Yeah.
All right.
They're usually
Stefan, we need
You
a
drew the
Wraith.
bad.
flip a coin.
Yeah.
Shoot him, and we'll run. You get to live. Oh, thank goodness. But your brother Stefan,
No.
he's going into
He's
stone.
dead.
No. He was so young at 3,000.
There's no models of these, right? They're too big.
Oh,
No,
oh,
Nope,
there
there
are.
are.
Yep.
I have sweet artwork.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
cool.
They're like
Like,
as big as like the other.
My only
knights.
critique is that
Yeah, they're like as
their
big as the
limbs
big
are a little.
knights or whatever.
crazy.
Yeah,
Their
they're
limbs
huge.
are a little scrawny looking.
Yeah,
but-
they're very slender.
They
for
don't
sure.
look like they make sense because everything we see is based on like the Empyrean, right? So we see these massive clunking war machines,
Yeah.
right? Whereas these, like, they're built of
They're
built of warp energy.
You could
like
you
Wraith
could
Bone,
make the
right?
art like if you didn't know any better and you're coming new into the hobby, they just look like a bigger scale Eldar warrior.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Showing pictures here.
Oh.
Okay, it's
Is it sexy?
it's not the full
Oh.
model. All it is it's showing someone's artistic ability on it. This is like one of my favorite paintings
Oh yeah,
ever.
geez, some people are just wild.
That is
Yep.
crazy.
Like
That
it's,
was my daily dose of humility.
it's so
Yeah.
insane
Yeah, that's
what
crazy.
some people are capable of. Anyways, I'll keep going on this. So that the Wraith Guard, Wraith Lords, Wraith Knights, Wraith Seers, all this stuff kind of takes care of the. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
There's one.
There's the
that's
scale.
the best one. So that's just a regular Eldar.
yeah. So they're massive.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look so graceful.
Yeah, they look awesome.
Yeah. An awesome video is
Isn't it Dawn of War?
Dawn of War 3. It shows an awesome video of one of these guys and two Imperial Knights fighting.
Fighting?
And
yeah.
It's badass.
very
That's
cool.
Yeah,
really
we'll watch
sick.
it after. Okay, so one more thing we have are Hemlock Wraith Fighters. So these are Eldar fighter craft, and they're piloted by Spirit Seers, but there are multiple Spirit Stones implanted within the core of the fighter craft.
Yeah.
So it's been described like this, how the ship functions is almost like a smaller version of the Infinity Circuit, where there is Wraithbone going throughout the entire ship, and these multiple spirits actually inhabit this entire circuit and communicate with the Spirit Seer to allow for like amazing maneuvers that are normally, because everything in the ship is bending itself to your will and helping to like maneuver out. So they're very deadly, but they get increased psychic abilities because of this. They literally shoot forth like a zone of terror in front of them to cause their enemies to like go insane before they even fight them. And imagine doing that in a fighter craft. Like you have to be pretty far away in order for that to take effect. And so it's very powerful. And but yeah, the danger about this specific thing is that the Spirit Seer might spend so much time connected to this miniature Infinity Circuit that they go insane or they join it.
Sure.
Yeah, they lose themselves within this circuit that they're trying to go in. So it's a danger of doing it. So because we do have stories of people losing themselves inside infinity circuits. Sure. So we know it's an actual real thing. Yeah. But the Hemlock Wraith Fighter is a pretty neat, pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Here's one more picture we'll show just of putting spirit stones onto Eldar vehicles to man different things.
Oh yeah. Yeah, even if they aren't constructs, there's an upgrade on tabletop where you can put spirit stones on vehicles, and they describe them as functioning like machine spirits. Oh. But what they can do is they can help you pilot things, or they can make sure that targeting systems are functioning normally. So
so you can usually see on Eldar models they have a bunch of stones like all over. Where so if the pilots die, these spirit stones might even be able to
bring the vehicle back to the
it won't be like full functioning, but even these ones, like even these bikes have them, like
so you don't have, it doesn't have to be a Wraith construct that you're placed into, right? It can just be a Hemlock Wraith Fighter where you make a miniature infinity circuit, or you might just go onto
some people's paintings.
Jeez, that's wild.
That is crazy.
The final thing about spirit stones is they're almost indestructible. They're incredibly hard to destroy if you can even destroy them. There's an example of a Space Marine hitting one
with a power axe,
and the stone's fine and he's flung back 3 meters.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Does it blow it up?
I'm pretty sure it does blow it up, but in the same thing, it completely destroys the power axe and it blows him away meters.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Dark Eldar have a way of like shattering them and then rebuilding them
into torture devices.
Yeah. So they can be destroyed definitely, but it's not just like if you drop it, it's going to shatter into 1,000 pieces. Yeah. So when they put them onto vehicles and stuff, like they're going to be fine.
Okay, you know what? In the Lexicanum, all it says is a spirit stone is smashed, resulting in an incredibly loud metallic ringing and then an explosion that destroys the power axe and sends the space
marine. So
smash
would mean that it blows up.
Maybe,
or it destroyed.
Yeah. That's how I read it too. Is that
the soul then released to Slanak?
Yes.
Okay. It's not just obliterated.
That's not a good thing. No.
Not for the Eldar anyway.
Yeah, they get consumed.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of the Eldar afterlife, the Path of the Dead. There's a lot in there that we just don't know, and I like it.
Well, it's fun to think about, and how would you picture this, and how would you write your craft world? How would you, how do you flesh out this aspect of your craft world, right?
Yeah.
Man, we've gone over a lot, which is really cool. It feels like every time we do an episode on a topic, it's like, all right, here's the next thing for you to add to your story.
Yeah.
Consider the Path of the Dead. How does your craft world view that? Do they view necromancy as a good thing?
Yeah.
Do they have a lot of spirit stones? Do they never worry about it? Is there
what if you have an Eldar race or craft world that doesn't care about their dead?
Yeah.
They don't wear spirit stones. They're like, this is what we deserve.
Absolutely.
Is that possible? How would they have an infinity circuit for their craft world?
Maybe they had it for 2,000 years, and then they started to make the decision,
Maybe they feed other things into their infinity
or
circuit.
That, right? Run off of demons.
Absolutely. Yeah. We chain them.
Or just different animals.
Absolutely. We blood sacrifice.
Just so collect. Crazy.
Yeah. You can change this so many ways because it's so open-ended.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Exactly.
But however you do write it, we know that you would have to take in the consideration of the fact that all Eldar would feel some way about an infinity circuit, whether or not they you couldn't just remove it from your story forever. You would have to write hey, there's a reason there isn't an infinity circuit here. There's a reason that they all hate it.
Sure.
So because it is a very important part of Eldar culture.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So we got one more kind of cool topic here, and this is this also doesn't actually exist. So a while back I got an email from a guy who is like, hey, what do you think about the Path of Reproduction being a path? So this doesn't actually exist, the Path of Reproduction. So originally you kind of laugh at it like, all they do is bang all day. But when you actually the Path of Reproduction,
found my path.
Yeah, right. But really it could be very interesting, this path, and it could very much be a thing. So Eldar, we know they're very emotional, and all that emotion, it's tolling on them. They have to focus on something. So being on the path of the warrior and the poet, and then having a child it'd be a very tolling, taxing thing, right? Especially with Eldar, where they're in psychic communication with their unborn child on the inside.
Yeah, that was something that I had never considered before. But truly, like, as soon as that life exists for an Eldar, it has a psychic presence.
Right.
And they're so potent. What's to stop the parents or mother or whatever from communicating psychically
and teaching
with that
it
child
right off the bat?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, child, let me build your psychic walls right now to protect you, and let me shelter you, but like, let me also teach you about our people.
Yeah. So it could very well be like, you know, the two parents, they both like, okay, we're going to have this child. The next 2 years is going to be dedicated to just like this whole process, you know?
Because it would take a lot out of you. Also, apparently, and this is not confirmed, I got this off a forum, but apparently it takes multiple visits for like an egg to... The DNA is given to the egg on multiple occasions, so it's not just like a one.
Interesting.
It's not a one and done.
Yeah, I wonder
Eldar.
if that is canon. How canon that is.
I don't know. It just came randomly. I couldn't find a source for it, but that's what I had read. But that it takes multiple like sexual interactions for an Eldar baby.
GW writing that.
It's at one point they wrote Space Marines ate shit.
That's important.
But if that's the case, it just adds a more... Like, because we understand that makes sense to us of like, oh my God, that would be so like grueling. Yeah. But also add the fact that these Eldar are psychic on top of that.
Yeah.
And it consumes every part of their life is this psychic.
Yeah. And this baby's psychic too, and it's just yelling this whole time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just
or maybe it understands and it can have thought from day one, and you're actually communicating. Who knows?
Who knows? I doubt that's the case, but
yeah, either way, this is a very like. It's an exhaustive thing.
Yeah.
Any way I imagine it, like this is not something an Eldar would make a decision of lightly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the path of the life comes in.
Yeah. So it'd be cool to if that was another path. Like I think you can come up with new paths and it be okay. There's not just the ones GW has set out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that almost every path you make up could fit into one of these paths.
Sure.
I think it would be a little harder to find like a path that's like truly unique. Because even this one, like you could make an argument that, it's the path of service, right?
Definitely could be. Very much. Yeah.
But it also could just be the path of life, and it's its own thing. And what a celebration it is for these Eldar that have decided to like give up their own paths of like the artisan and shaping to go down the path of life. So I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot your name, whoever emailed me, but
rude.
I'm taking the credit for this. This is my invention. Path of the Dead, Path of Life.
We've coined it. Path of Immortality.
Yeah, they're all lore hammers now. All your things belong to me.
Yeah, all your base.
Yes. So that's the episode. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Yeah, let's, before we end it, let's thank our Patreon members.
Yeah.
So I am going to say thank you to all of them. So thank you to Javier, Christian, Fiery or Fieri? I don't know. I'm going to say it's Fieri. Michael, Josh, Plunkett, Mark, Frosten, Tim, Arter, Michael, Lang, Lucas, Ghost McFloats, Naked Chef Gaming, Josh, M. Jummy, Thomas, Aaron, Derinkler, Banhead, Primarch Vulcan. Thank you, Primarch Vulcan, for your gracious donation. Peter, Miguel, Charlie, Dominic, Benjamin, Ark Magos, Azriel Grimm, Waffler World, and Killian. Thank you guys so much for contributing to our Patreon and making what we do a reality.
Yeah. Go check out our Patreon. We're starting to put some actual benefits for our people. Like I said at the beginning, for $2 you're able to watch this episode. I think we've maybe sorted out a video problem.
I'm 99. Fingers crossed.
It's been a thing.
We're gonna start sacrificing small animals.
Honestly, at this point,
but
so I think it will be released maybe a day sooner than the actual podcast. Maybe at the same time.
I'm excited.
At the very least, it's going to be at the same time.
Yeah. That's our goal. That's our intention.
Don't
crucify us if it doesn't happen. Please.
Yeah, like
if we're a day late.
Yeah, if we're a day late, sometimes stuff comes up, but that's kind of going to be the thing. So go join our Patreon. We got some goals on there if you want to help support us, like reach these goals. Really, the goals are just more content for you guys. Like once we reach X amount, we're going to be releasing more episodes for you. So for our Patreon specific people.
Yes.
So.
And that I think is our end goal of everything, is the only reason we would want more money is so we're free more to release more content.
Exactly.
It's not like I'm asking for a new car, but if anyone wanted to give me a new car, I really like FRSs. So
that's too much power for you.
You can't handle it.
Sad.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for contributing to our Patreon. Go check us out on all this stuff. Email whatever. I don't like the slug that you do.
It's just me and the camera
just
now,
end
Mark.
the episode. Hurry.
Sad. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Rio, for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, James, for joining us. And now it's time for us to play some Pathfinder, is it not?
Yeah. We got 4 minutes to spare.
Exactly.
Perfect.
We rock.
We did it.
All right.
Goodbye.
See ya.